Here's a nice little rumor for you. Some actual good news, always nice. There's a rumor going around that Nintendo is about to update the screen on the Switch 2. Now, I know that this is not a problem that everybody has been able to see with their own eyes, but basically Nintendo kind of cheaped out on the display on the Switch 2. And I don't just mean, going with a LCD instead of OLED. I've always felt like it would be nice if it was an OLED, but I don't know. I think it already looks pretty good in terms of like color and sharpness and all that stuff. The real problem is that the refresh rate on the screen is just very, very poor. So when you're playing the right kind of game and moving the camera in the right way, there's like this ghosting effect where you're seeing the ghost of like several frames behind, which is especially disappointing for the Switch 2 because, like Metroid Prime 4, you can play it at 120 FPS on your screen. So they're like, one of the selling points of their system is that it can do these super high frame rates, but then they put a screen on it that can't really handle very high frame rates without producing this ghosting. It really does vary from game to game. Again, a lot of people don't even know what we're talking about when we say stuff like this. I do see it. It is a little bit disappointing. Some games do look just a bit blurry. And really, I would just say the main disappointment is it seems that this screen isn't even as good as the screen on the original Switch. And that's where everyone is just purely confused by this. Just like no idea why this happened at all. Not even as good as the original Switch when it comes to just the refresh rate, the system's ability to refresh the image on the screen. The original Switch did not have a ghosting problem like this. So anyway, all that to say, the rumor is that Nintendo is going to be changing the screen. Right now, the screen is made by a company called Innolux, but there have been some leaked images to suggest that they're going to start getting a panel from Sharp. These images show a different circuit, connector, and cables. Basically it's clearly a new screen. It's clearly a new display, which suggests that Nintendo is perhaps fixing this problem. Now, there's nothing solid coming out of this yet, so technically we don't know that it is necessarily an upgrade. However, it would be weird of them to update it in some way that was not helpful in some way. So it's like, I don't know, sort of kind of reasonable to imagine that it's going to be an improvement in some way. We really don't know. Another thing we're not sure of is like, is this going to be replacing all of the models, or because they have to produce a new model in Europe, because now they have to comply with the law that says people have to be able to change out the batteries. So they basically have to design a Switch 2 just for that region with a replaceable battery. Is this going to go into those models because they're already kind of like shaking up how those are put together? Or is this going to go in every model? I mean, I don't know. If they decide that it works for the Switch 2, then I don't know why they wouldn't put it in every model. But again, technically, we don't know for sure. All we know right now is that there's a good chance that the screen is being changed. It is just going to be a different screen, a different panel from a different company hooked into the system in a somewhat different way. And I'm certainly not expecting miracles here. Again, it's not an OLED display. It is still very old technology. But yeah, apart from the ghosting problem, I am actually decently happy with the display on the Switch 2. Yeah, it would be better if it were OLED, but like, I don't know, it still looks pretty good. They've still been able to wring a lot of good color and stuff out of it. So yeah, I don't know. Even if this was not different at all, except for fixing the refresh rate, the ghosting issue, I'd be happy with that. Would I settle for an improvement, even if not a complete fix, Because right now, if I play the right kind of game and I move the camera in the right kind of way and I like take a picture of my screen, I'll see a good 3 or 4 images, like after images on top of the one I'm looking at. So, I don't know. Would I settle for like one or 2 ghost images? That technically would be an improvement. Maybe that would be harder for the eye to catch. I really don't know. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.